Um, Another question. Has there ever been a time when you have questioned being part of this profession? That one's easy. No. What was the best piece of advice you were given in your career and why? I got it out of a book. It said, as long as the mother's and the baby's vital signs are okay, labor can proceed. And why? Because it's true. There should be no time limits on labor. I've never seen a reason to accept the imposition of time limits on labor. That doesn't mean that I might not have an intuition sometimes that it might be good to go into hospital when mothers and baby's vital signs are fine, but I'm uneasy in some way. That might be enough to send me in, but I think that's really good advice. Okay, Dawn93 asks, considering how inspirational you've been to us, who is the most inspirational person you have met along the way, and how have they changed the way you practice? I would say two women, Gladys Milton, Florida grand midwife, also became a licensed midwife, and she lived in the panhandle of Florida. She wrote a book called Why Not Me, and another one, Beyond the Dream, and I just love Gladys, amazingly courageous and compassionate woman. And her daughter, Maria Milton, carries on the practice. So Gladys, just for her ability to keep going on and being cheerful and loving, even when you got knocked down, you get back up again. Gladys embodied all that. And Mrs. Margaret Charles Smith, another grand midwife, and she lived in Eutaw, Alabama, died at the age of, I think she was 96. No, wait, she was 99. And I just loved her. Her book, Listen to Me Good, is definitely worth a read. And she attended some 3,000 births, never had a maternal death. It was just amazing. Okay. If I'm asked if you hadn't pursued your interest in midwifery, then what do you think you would have done? I don't know what I would have done. I think it would have been great to be a musician. I think playing music with other people is really something that looks like an awful lot of fun. Maybe I will learn how to play something if I can find the time. I've seen a couple of other things that look like fun, but they don't come to mind right now. But I like what I do. I like what I do. Muffin Buns asks, do you feel happy and content with the future of midwifery, or are you concerned with the possibility of higher interventions, more hospital rate births, and so forth? The answer to both of those is yes. So no, I wouldn't say I'm content with the future of midwifery. No, I'm not happy and content with it. No, I'd say midwifery is in real danger. It's in real danger all over the world, in fact. And I never could have guessed when I was first meeting midwives from the UK in the late 70s. Some midwifery tutors came over and visited us. And I'm kind of sure now that they came because they were concerned about the future of midwifery. I had no way of knowing that things had been sort of chopped up in the UK so that you had antepartum midwives, intrapartum midwives, and postpartum midwives, and that the whole job wasn't, what midwives did, what you call continuity of care, to fragment it in that way, to me, seemed like it would cheated the midwifery student, the midwife herself, and the mother, because then you didn't get to see how, antepartum care affects everything else. Just one little chance remark can scare a woman. And if you weren't there and she wasn't able to see the same person each time so that she would begin to trust you and confide in you, how would you know that that was why she had such a hard time in labor? or why that person that insisted on being by her side shouldn't even have been in the birth room with her, that kind of thing. So, so many countries have followed the U.S. model, ignorant of the fact that we have the most screwed up model in the world. We're the country that the first one to ever annihilate the profession of midwifery, and that meant that our doctors then didn't have the ability to know how the female body can function in labor, because you could only see that when you had the protection, the sacredness of birth recognized, and the right circumstances for birth created. If you make women give birth in a kind of a combat zone, or something that's like a medieval torture chamber, you're not going to see the mystic beauty that women have, that they exhibit when they're in their full power in labor. So I think that we have a lot of work to do before us, and this book is what I wrote to kind of hopefully attract attention to the real corner we painted ourselves into, where we're making it impossible for women to have a good labor, satisfying labor, healthy labor, and we're denying women the empowerment that they can get through giving birth and creating life. Now all those sort of kudos are given to doctors and laboratories, like getting postmenopausal women pregnant and carrying surrogate pregnancies to term, and then ending with a C-section. To me, that's utter madness. Okay, so what else do we have here? Here's an interesting question from Googly. I would like to ask what time period in history offered women the best level of midwifery care. Was it the handy woman of the late 19th century, the medicalized birth of the new NHS era, or the birth on the bus in the 1970s, or a combination? Well, birth on the bus in the 1970s, I think we did pretty good there. We were all so lucky, It was phenomenal luck that the first birth that I saw was the most perfect birth that you could possibly see. It was quick. The mother was prepared, not that I prepared her, but that she prepared herself. And it didn't need any intervention, and so I got to see that it can be done. But if we'd run into a complication, well, there we were in a big metropolitan area. We wouldn't have been able to, turn on a cell phone. We would have had to go to a public phone or something, and then ask somebody to lead us to an emergency room or something like that. So, all right, so what we need is, I think, the ideal way of giving birth is so that you have modern technology that you can access, but that you only access it when you really need it. And that's true even when you're in a hospital, you see. I think we need to create spaces where it really is not that it's assumed that technology is going to have to be used for every single birth, because that actually then keeps women from moving around. It keeps them from being the wild way they need to be when they're in labor. So it's hard to say what time period. I mean, I think the time period in history now is really quite ideal if we could just use technology appropriately. It's hard for us to do that. I hope we can learn. Here's one where, how in a world, this one's from Twin Bump, how in a world where most women interpret normal birth by what they see in the media and from horror stories can we empower women to trust in their bodies and trust birth for the first time, not the second or third? Oh, that one's not Twin Bump, that's Arwen Evenstar. Well, I think that we have to make it possible. We have to tell stories of empowered births, and the best people to tell those are either the midwives or the women that experienced them. I think that we need to try to teach people to think more critically, because I always wonder, given that there are about 5,000 species of mammals, how easy it has become to persuade people that we're the only species of mammal that's incapable of giving birth without technology or without dying. It just seems like that's quite a stretch to think that nature could make such a big screw up in our case and not in all the other mammals. Yeah, so that means better use of the media, because that's a kind of technology where we could actually teach. But then we have to get beyond the broadcast standards. Certainly in the U.S. it's not very easy to see good birth on television or through the media. So we're trying to find our ways through that, and of course YouTube. We're so thankful for YouTube, aren't we? I suggest that people look at other mammals giving birth, because we can certainly learn from other mammals, and I suggest if you type in the dramatic struggle for life and watch the elephant give birth, and watch it watch it 2 or 3 or 4 times so that you really get at why she does what she does, that elephant who successfully stimulates her non-breathing elephant baby to take her first breath and then her first steps. Okay, and then there's another one that's worth looking at, and that's type in Attica, Attica, Attica Zoo, and there you'll see a chimpanzee in a Greek zoo. Nice if you can read or speak Greek, but most of us can't, so you can see everything that you need to without the narration. And look at the freedom of movement that chimpanzee mother does, and check out her doula who's there with her.